Well, it's time now for Media Watch, and Emma James is with us in the studio. It's good to see you, Emma. And you've been taking a look at reactions to Emmanuel Macron's speech at the Palace of Versailles today. There have been some interesting comparisons, haven't there?
Yes, there have indeed. And some of those comparisons began hours before this speech was given. One of the most interesting things that has got a lot of reaction online was the front page of Libération today, which features Manupita in Versailles, which is obviously a nod to the fact that Emmanuel Macron has described himself or said he wants to be a Jupiterian president. Basically, he wants to be all-powerful. And of course, Libé here have portrayed him as a Roman god holding those lightning bolts. And it's a real contrast to what we saw with François Hollande when he was
first elected. Yes, it couldn't be more different, could they?
Exactly. He was supposed to be Mr. Normal.
He was compared to a pudding.
Yes, Flamby, bless him. One of those gelatinous floppy puddings. Yes. Very, very unfortunate.
This is a very different story, isn't it?
It is hugely different. But you do wonder as well how quickly the change could happen. And certainly today there do seem to have been some rather negative connotations involved with this speech. Cartoonists here, because of course he took that message to Versailles, portraying him as the Sun King, which of course was the king who created the Palace of Versailles. And here he's saying, we are going to enlighten you, and Edouard Philippe, they're sitting on the sidelines trying to remind everyone that it's not just Emmanuel Macron working alone. This cartoonist too saying, watch out though, Versailles hasn't brought luck to everyone, and that of course is a bust of Louis XVI saying that to Emmanuel Macron.
We all know what happened to him, chop chop.
Absolutely, so wise words there from the bust of Louis XVI. Of course, not everybody went along. The politicians from La France Insoumise, the rebellious France party, if you like, François Ruffin among them, said that he didn't want to go along to listen to the Sun King at Versailles.
Right, they didn't even turn up, did they? They held a rally.
No, absolutely, and there are pictures going up online now of that protest at République. Seems to be very well attended, and it says that the people there are starting to chant Mélenchon, because Jean-Luc Mélenchon, of course, is the leader of La France Insoumise. He became very, very popular during the presidential campaign. Elsewhere, though, the people who did actually watch the speech, online, there seems to have been a fairly unimpressed reaction. This person coming up with a really nice play on words. Instead of the Sun King, Le Roi Soleil, we've got Le Roi Sommeil, the Sleep King, because it did go on for an hour and 20 minutes, and there wasn't a vast amount of content. People felt that it wasn't quite as exciting as perhaps they had imagined it was going to be. This image of the ecology minister, Nicolas Hulot, looking as though he's having a quick 40 winks there, a little bit of a snooze, has been shared very widely by lots of people online. This person saying that he's visibly captivated by the speech of Emmanuel Macron. This American journalist asks, are French speechwriters paid by the word? Just wondering, because it did go on for quite some time. However, her tweet was greeted with disdain by some French people, including Bruno Roger Petit, who says, in France, we don't have Trump as the president, so our speeches are what the people deserve, basically. And he actually went on to talk a lot about the speech of Macron, saying that he felt it was ambitious in thought and depth, but he said he felt it would be cut to pieces by journalists. I'm not sure that that is necessarily true, but certainly there is a lot of criticism and not quite as many positive things online as we have seen with Emmanuel Macron in the past, because up until now he's almost been above criticism, and certainly people felt he was the sort of media darling. Looking elsewhere at other online reactions, well, this is another American user who says this is how other leaders around the world are behaving and working to help their countries, using Emmanuel Macron as an example for Donald Trump, who of course is due to visit France next week. This reaction too, saying that, well, a lot of people saying it sounded a little bit like he was giving mass, because there was a certain preachy tone to this speech. This person saying that he wanted to listen to the reforms of Macron, but what he heard was a priest giving lessons about coming to pay with money that they don't have. And again, another very critical tweet. Well, this person, Françoise Degois, who is a French journalist, says that she found the criticism of Macron's predecessors and his self-promotion very tiring. We'll end up finding him more modest than Nicolas Sarkozy, she says, and he, of course, was President Bling Bling. So lots of criticism out there, probably for the first time, really, since Macron has been was elected less than 2 months ago.
Everybody clearly got an opinion on that speech. The media talking about it, but he was talking about the media today.
Yes, absolutely. And it did have a certain ring of Donald Trump about it. He wasn't crying fake news, but he is calling for more restraint from the media, asking them to end their incessant search for scandal. Now, of course, he has been talking a lot about the moralisation of politics, or the cleaning up of politics. You might call it drain the swamp if you're going to continue with the Donald Trump comparison. But as the Huffington Post has gone into greater detail on this story, and they talk about the speech in which he said that there is a continual violation of the presumption of innocence, and is calling for a society of trust.
Which is interesting when you look at what happened to François Fillon, which a lot of people say was...
Lots of people pointing out that he wasn't so concerned about the press keeping quiet when he was the one who was benefiting from François Fillon's criticism.
Oh, absolutely. Emma, thank you very much indeed. We've run out of time, sadly, but thank you for